In the Puget Sound watershed, over 4 million people share land with natural ecosystems, rivers, lakes, and the Puget Sound. As people inhabit areas previously managed by nature, they alter natural land areas with pavement and buildings, use large amounts of natural resources, and add pollutants to the watershed. There are several ways in which pollutants can enter the water system, and one, stormwater pollution, is directly attributed to citizens. Stormwater runoff is water that falls on an impermeable surface and runs into pipes and ditches that transfer it to the nearest watershed. Although starting as fairly pure water, stormwater runoff collects pollutants as it travels across the ground. As natural lands are destroyed, there are fewer areas of permeable ground, meaning that water has fewer places to naturally soak into the ground, and thus, stormwater runoff is increased. In fact, a typical city block produces 9 times more runoff than an equivalent woodland area, where forest soils act like a big sponge. The most common pollutants found in stormwater are oils and greases, topsoil and sand, fertilizer, plant debris, food waste, animal waste, road de-icer, insecticides and herbicides, and livestock waste. These substances come from vehicles, lawn care, small businesses, and everyday modern living. All of these common substances originate as everyday materials that are often minimally harmful to the environment, but as they combine with stormwater, they enter the local watershed where they are toxic to the ecosystem. Puget Sound receives between 14 and 94 million pounds of toxic pollutants annually, which include oil and grease, PCBs, phthalates, PBDEs, as well as toxic heavy metals such as copper, lead, and zinc. Stormwater runoff contributes to at least 30% of this pollution. Oil and greases are toxic to aquatic organisms for many reasons. The thick substances can prevent fish from receiving enough oxygen by coating the gills, attach to plants which are then ingested by other animals, and clog drainage facilities. Although soils are common in streams, excess amounts are problematic because they increase turbidity. Fish are unable to navigate or effectively breathe in cloudy water. Fish eggs are unable to develop in extremely cloudy water. Plants are unable to grow in water with excess heavy soils. Insects are unable to live in unclean water. And recreation opportunities are limited in water with high levels of sediment. Also, natural sediments often carry other pollutants with them and provide substance for more toxic materials to attach to. Pesticides and herbicides are designed to destroy a particular plant or animal. Although they are not designed to kill aquatic life, many of these chemicals are extremely toxic in the marine environment. Excess amounts of plant and food debris creates nutrient levels that are much higher than the marine environment can handle and use dissolved oxygen as they decompose, leaving the water without enough oxygen. Increased nutrient levels can stimulate the overgrowth of aquatic plants that create odors, create gases that are toxic to fish, and use high amounts of dissolved oxygen. Along with environmental issues, stormwater pollution contributes to major economic deficiencies. The fishing and shellfishing industry are the most affected by stormwater pollution because their potential catch is either poisoned or prematurely killed by the pollutants. Because fishing and shellfishing are major industries in Washington, these negative effects have a large economic impact. Water-related recreation opportunities are also limited to healthy water systems. Polluted waters are unable to attract guests and therefore do not generate any economic value. Polluting Washington state waters is illegal. The Washington State Water Pollution Control Law and King County Code prohibit the discharge of pollutants into the storm drainage system, surface water, and groundwater. However, because stormwater pollution is a non-point source and all citizens are responsible for its condition, these laws are difficult to enforce. Education is one of the most important and effective ways to reduce pollution in stormwater runoff. When people understand the problems associated with pollutants and the ways pollutants enter the watershed, they are more likely to reduce the pollutants they allow into the stormwater runoff. One of the best stormwater educators in the Puget Sound region is the University of Washington. In 2009, the UW created new policies in order to clean up Puget Sound and surrounding waters. Several of their policies include public education. Along with printed information, all storm drains on campus are already labeled with white paint, "Do not dump, drains to lake." While these education methods are passive and difficult to measure, because the UW has access to so many people and therefore so many potential polluters, they have the potential to drastically reduce the amount of pollutants in the Puget Sound watershed. Stormwater facilities are engineered facilities that convey stormwater runoff, remove pollutants, and control flow rates. Some of the facilities in use include ponds, underground tanks or vaults, and infiltration systems specifically designed to capture, store, and then slowly release stormwater runoff downstream or into the ground. A detention pond, a type of infiltration system, stores accumulated stormwater runoff and then slowly releases it downstream, while a retention pond, another infiltration system, collects stormwater and allows the water to soak into the soil. While these methods of stormwater management are effective at reducing flooding in order to preserve the urban environment, the toxins in the stormwater are rarely completely removed from the water before it enters the watershed. The management facilities are also sometimes ill-equipped and possibly malfunctioning because due to the large amount of precipitation in the Puget Sound watershed, King County alone inspects over 2,000 stormwater facilities. Low-impact development is a stormwater runoff mitigation strategy that is being developed for use in urban areas. LID is a stormwater management and land development strategy applied at the parcel and subdivision level that emphasizes conservation and use of on-site natural features integrated with engineered, small-scale hydrologic controls to more closely mimic pre-development hydrologic functions. These stormwater controls include curved roads, limited street parking, limited or no storm drains, and native planting zones. In LID, in place of storm drains are natural plants, rocks, or other features that force water to soak into the natural landscape instead of flowing into the watershed. Native plants typically do not require excess chemicals or water to grow because they are built for the local environment. LID can help communities more efficiently and effectively manage stormwater and protect their water resources because it protects the environment, reduces flooding, protects human health, protects drinking water, helps the economy, provides cost-effective alternatives to system upgrades, improves the appearance of communities, and increases public safety. Although it is sometimes more expensive and requires more work from the landowner, LID is a promising mitigation technique that has already helped the Puget Sound watershed. Stormwater pollution in Puget Sound is a major concern because of the negative environmental and economic effects. When common substances used in modern living are combined with rainwater in an urban setting, they are not able to soak into the ground and instead run off into treatment facilities or directly into the watershed. These substances pollute the water, causing fish illnesses and death, plant overgrowth, recreation losses, and fishing and shellfishing losses. Some effective techniques have been developed to reduce the amount and mitigate the effects of pollutants in stormwater runoff, but despite these efforts, stormwater is one of the largest contributors of pollution in the Puget Sound watershed.